And welcome to another episode of JP and the Beanstalk while I fix the microphone. My name is Beans, as always, and my co-host.
Here we are. I'm JP.
Yes.
Let's go.
That's JP.
Let's go. I kind of have to be, right? If you're Beans, that's really the only remaining name I can take.
And
given the title of the show, right?
Be real awkward
I'm
if
Dave.
it wasn't.
What? Not great. Not a good look.
I've never met a cool Dave.
Ooh.
No, I take that back. I met one cool Dave. The other Dave I know was a doucher.
Sure. Sure. Well, you got to keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. The only two I can think of off the top of my head. And then there's another Dave I just don't know. So maybe three?
Right. Nobody's standing out in a super positive way. Well, that's all right.
Or negative, really. Daves are usually just there.
Pretty tame. Yeah. Yeah. Net neutral. That's all right. That's all right. Oh, good things. So Loki's come out.
Yes.
Since in multiple ways, right? That was kind of a big deal to some people.
Yes.
Like, OMG, he's bi. Okay. You know what? For those that was significant for, okay.
See,
can't say it resonated a whole lot with me either direction. It was just, alrighty then.
For me,
fine.
For me, I like in the comics, it's kind of a thing already.
Sure.
And like, I don't care, which sounds like maybe bad or not good, but I honestly like. People gotta realize if they are mad about it, which I can't see why anyone would be mad. Like the actual Norse Loki is pretty weird too. So I mean, I'm not saying that it's weird, but I'm pretty sure
he's the god of mischief.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's
mischievous.
I'm pretty sure I was reading somewhere and they said Norse mythology. He transforms into a horse, has fun with another horse, and then produces a child.
Sure.
So he is a horse child. So if we're thinking about that,
all depends on which path you want to go down.
Yeah, and everyone should have seen female Loki coming.
Yeah,
I mean that was kind of a no-brainer, but it is interesting that she's blonde.
Okay, sure.
Because of the pure fact.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot of rumors when she first appeared that she actually might be Enchantress.
Yeah, so let's see. How do we want to divvy this up? Let's go general thoughts to begin with. Okay. So we've got 3 episodes, which
we are halfway through the series.
Math, right, is 50%, aka half. just checking.
I'm glad you're good.
Don't need a calculator for that one. Got it. What have been your general impressions, your takeaways so far? What have you been a fan of? What are you going? Not so sure yet, and since there's half left, a lot of these things can change. But what do you got?
So, the first 2 episodes I thought were really good.
Yep.
Third one was kind of underwhelming. Because for me, the third episode was more for, like, the people that were wanting more information about Loki. But to me, the most important thing to come out of there was, spoiler alert.
It's spoiler
This all spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, listen if you want, but
yeah,
don't be upset when you get spoiled.
Exactly. So, like, the fact that they admitted, or that she's like, yeah, the whole TVA is all variants.
Right.
Like, that was the only thing that mattered to me in that episode. Because I was like, oh, damn.
It's because it was.
And you're like, oh, this makes sense why Mobius is obsessed with the 90s. Because that's probably where he veered off. From.
Right.
And his actual guys probably
when he showed up late for work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or tripped and fell, or
any number of innocent, actually not innocent things.
Or he was supposed to fall off the jet ski and instead stayed on.
Oh my gosh, he died on a jet ski.
Yeah.
That's what or was supposed to die and then somehow didn't.
Somehow the trick worked. And they're like, nope, you're coming with us. Because she said they've been in there for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Right.
So, and for TVA time, it's like, well, how long is that actually? So,
yeah, we'll go down that rabbit trail of TVA time, but good because I want to come back to that.
Yeah.
So good so far.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I'm just hoping this back half, because it's supposed to get crazy.
Sure.
I'm just interested. The main thing is, who's the big bad at the end of all of this? Is it going to be the TVA?
Yep.
I know also the voice actress for that little clock has stated that there's a very significant thing with her that we find out towards the end. So I don't know if It's whoever's
Man,
controlling.
she's still alive after saying that? I feel like Marvel would be upset for her dropping that.
She just teased that there was going to be more Miss Minutes, but it was implied that Miss Minutes was actually important.
It's going to be pretty easy for Marvel to snuff her out, considering we haven't seen her. She's a voice actress. She's dead now. She's gone.
Well, she's actually like, she's done a voicing for a lot of like kids cartoons.
Not anymore.
Like she's Timmy Turner.
She's done.
Fun fact.
Timmy's done.
Timmy's
guys.
done.
It's over.
He grew up. He doesn't
New
have
voice
his
for Timmy.
godparents anymore.
No. Timmy's out.
So, trying to think of what else.
Yep, big bad. Okay, who do we got coming?
And then
there's a lot of potential.
Well, yeah, because you're wondering like
there's a lot of potential.
So she had to have had all those different bombs placed in specific locations.
Mm-hmm.
All those divergencies.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see like what diverged.
Yeah, all those branch timelines.
And
that was a thought that I had. And then you need to go back on your train. I shouldn't interrupt.
No, you're good.
But I concur on my general response to, okay, first 2 episodes, really enjoyed them. 3rd episode, underwhelmed. And I think that had a lot to do with it, was the fact that the 2nd episode ends with Lady Loki, Sylvie, bombing the timeline, and we see the monitor that shows the sacred timeline with multitudes of branches coming off. And we don't get that doesn't get touched at all.
That's what I'm saying.
In the 3rd episode. Like, not at all. And so that was just, for as much build-up as there was in episode 1 that transitioned into episode 2, and then it felt like we were trained to expect, okay, more build-up and more payoff in episode 3. It was a divergence in its own right of, we're just hanging out with Loki and Sylvie and not getting anything. Like, we're not even getting a 2-minute flash of the TVA home front freaking out, going, boo, what's going on? This sucks. What the hell are we going to do? So it felt very WandaVision-esque in the sense that, when we get the full story, that 3rd episode is probably not going to be as frustrating to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? But when we're watching it 1 episode at a time, 1 week at a time, kind of like how with WandaVision, the first 2 and even 3 episodes came out, it's like, okay, when do we get into the payoff? And then the 4th episode unfurls so much of the mystery.
And then the 5th episode's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the 6th is good too.
Right.
But the 2nd half is so much better than the 1st.
Right. And I think that has a lot to do with it, where there was so much that we're going at the end of episode 2, wow, what's happening? Because I agree. I think Sylvie planted those reset charges, almost blank there, reset charges in very specific spots. It wasn't just a random, let's just drop one off here, let's drop one off there. But we didn't get to learn about any of that yet. And that's, frankly, just frustrating. There's so much buildup. So, anyway, you continue to carry it away.
Well, and, too, like, it was mentioned, somebody's mentioned, I go through a lot of Instagram stuff, and I saw somewhere, too, like, that whole trailer in the 1st episode for, like, the TVA and why they're good people and all this stuff, people were like, that feels a lot like propaganda. So it makes you wonder, like, who's behind making it one timeline? You have the monitors, or what are they called?
The timekeepers.
The timekeepers.
Space
that
lizards.
that we have no idea what they're about.
Right.
And because I'm trying to think where I was going with that. But, like, to me, they made themselves sound more like the heroes.
That's
in a sense,
right.
They're
that's
like,
their perspective.
Everything
we're
branched
preserving
off.
the sacred timeline. You're welcome.
And the way, like, variants can be very, very different from their originals.
Yep.
Because Sylvie is so much different than Loki.
Yep.
And I think that's probably the significance of episode 3 is showing their differences.
Sure.
She didn't grow up with a mom.
Mm-hmm.
She's knows zero magic at all.
Knew she was adopted and is not traumatized by it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Different brand of magic.
That's
noteworthy.
She's definitely not as mischiefy as our actual Loki, who, as if you watch the first 3 episodes, does not give a shit.
Right.
At all.
Right.
And I love it.
Right.
Because that's how he should be.
Yep.
But he's playing both sides the whole time, and she's playing her one side. So it's just interesting to me. and like what her beef is with the TVA. I think we'll find out in episode 4, but
Yeah, that's a really good recap. I'll provide a relatively brief recap of my own. First 2 episodes, yes, good. Third episode, frustrating, because of how there's so much meat on the bone in episodes 1 and 2. Like, there was so much world building that took place in episode 1, and then in episode 2, my goodness, did they get like really philosophical, high-minded, almost like theological with the concepts that they were presenting of free will, predetermined paths of life, and it was fascinating. So I rewatched episode 1 the other day, and it was really fascinating on a rewatch to see how Loki, when he's first being confronted by Owen Wilson with the reality of the TVA, and Loki is saying, there's no way that my path is predetermined for me, I get to make my own choices, and then Mobius is showing him in the Avengers movie, telling all of these Earthlings, you shouldn't be making choices, you shouldn't have freedom, and Mobius is like, which way do you want to go here, bud? Because what you're telling these people, we're telling you, and now you're telling us that you don't care for that. And which is a really fascinating concept of, I think, just on a human level, right? We like to think, we see someone do something, whether it's, let's just use a sports metaphor, right? We watch, you and I are sports guys.
Yep.
We have our teams that we love, and how many times, anytime we turn on a game of one of our respective teams, do we watch a player or a coach make a decision that we're going, that's so stupid, how could you do that, right? I would never do that. And yet in our own lives, we're not perfect. We make our own mistakes, and so we have this idea of, hey, free will, absolutely, this is the right way to go, this is what I should be choosing, because I'm going to make great choices all the time. I know the right thing to do, but we F it up.
Yeah.
Constantly. So there's truth on both sides of, yeah, we do have free will. We should be making those choices our own. But we sometimes suck at it. And sometimes it's kind of appealing to go, hey, could somebody just make these decisions for me? That'd be really great. I'm really not sure what to do here. Okay, there we go. Thank you, omniscient overbeing. And so I enjoyed that a lot in that second episode. And then the third episode, when it was just Loki and Lady Loki or Sylvie hanging out, it was just a little less meaty, a little less flavorful. I hope it'll be beneficial in the long run to have spent that time with the character of Lady Loki. Oh my gosh, I just thought, what if she dies? Like in episode 4, she just eats it. And it made me think of the Netflix Marvel shows, how often they would like build these characters up. They would just get killed straight up, like never the main character, right? Daredevil never died, Luke Cage never died, but you know what I'm talking about.
Don't even get me started about Luke Cage. That pissed me off.
100%.
They did that for no reason. Do you know how good Mahershala Ali's character was?
You know how good Mahershala Ali is?
Oh, I know. He's going to be Blade, but
yeah,
the fact that he was the best part of that show. They're like, you know what?
Yep.
His sister's better.
Woof.
What?
Yep.
What? No way.
Yep.
Jessica Jones, the first season was good. Honestly, they should have just kept the Purple Man in there for season 2 because I did not give a shit about knowing who her mom was.
The Defenders, when they bring them all together and they have Sigourney Weaver's character set up as the main bad
actress as well,
and then Elektra just pops up out of the grave and goes dead. It's like, what are we doing? It almost became too predictable. It's like, okay, we know that you're just the bad guy for a couple episodes.
Yeah.
And then you're going to die.
It's just...
And so, anyway, I just had that thought. It just went full on off the path with Lady Loki. He's like, how hilarious would it be if like, there's all this build-up and she dies? She won't. She won't.
They'll keep her around probably till episode 6.
She'll...
My guess is...
She'll be around.
My guess is... TVA will come crashing down.
Yep.
Find out Kang was behind all of it. Maybe.
I love the world building. I love the aesthetic of the TVA. Super cool. Love the rules and how they've been explained for how the TVA works. I think that's been fascinating, and it made that nugget in episode 3 that much more valuable to go, wait a minute, they're all variants? Ooh, that raises so many more questions and possibilities. So that's great. I'm really hopeful for the back half of the season. I think the front half has set up a lot of potential, and I'm hopeful that the back half will have some really solid payoff because, man, they could go a lot of different directions. But for as underwhelming as episode 3 was, I'm still super optimistic. Excited to watch episode 4 tomorrow.
Episode 4, it's got to go back to the TVA.
Yep.
We definitely are gonna see TVA.
How could we do a whole episode without Owen Wilson?
Yeah, I know.
He was fantastic
in
episodes 1 and 2. And then in episode 3, we're like, no.
Well, yeah.
We're good without.
Because
what are we doing?
There's no way else to get out of that.
What are we doing?
There's no way else to get out of the situation until the TVA comes in.
Right.
You know?
Mobius is going to come in, rescue him, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's where we're at.
For sure.
I think so.
It's got to.
Got to.
But, oh, man. But for me, like, damn it, I lost my train of thought.
Hold on to your thought. Let me drop another one on you. Okay. I am really confident in this theory that I'm about to present to you, and I haven't read it somewhere. I haven't heard it from anywhere, and I don't say that to take full credit as an original idea.
But go ahead.
Yep, you hold it. You save it. I am convinced that the TVA is in the quantum realm. That's what this is.
I've actually seen that theory.
I believe it. I'm sure I'm not the only person with that idea, but there are so many parallels and just obvious calls to what we've heard referred to as the quantum realm so far. Like, time works differently here. Huh. Really? There's this whole world that Loki's not aware of. Where on earth could that be? Huh. Well, the quantum realm's been described as its own universe, its own world. All of that just undefined potential. It's the quantum realm. That's where time travel has happened in the MCU. So what do we have here? A time-keeping force. Where would they be operating at? The quantum realm.
I mean, it's
the quantum realm.
It's all in Ant-Man and the Wasp's name. It's
Yep.
Quantumania, and you have Kang the Conqueror, and Kang already has a shit ton of connections to the TVA.
Right.
Because what I was going to say is the lady that Owen Wilson talks to all the time is in the comics. That is Kang's love
Kang's
interest.
lady.
It's Kang's love interest.
Kang's gal.
So, yeah. Like, there's too many things for me to be like. That's why I think episode 6, Kang comes in.
You do think Kang comes in?
I think Kang comes in because that actor was pretty silent when anyone said anything to him about this show.
Sure.
So
sure.
It almost has to because the TVA is going to crash and burn.
Yep.
It has to for the Multiverse of Madness.
It will.
It's going to be gone.
It's not there to last. It's there to exist, to have us go, wow, that's interesting, and then to have it get blown up, which is appropriate.
I think Loki will end up being a pawn.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to take over the TVA. So I don't know if he'll end up at the end jumping into the main timeline now. And I know he's not going to be in Thor 4. So
I'm not sure he's coming back. I'm not sure this isn't Loki's swan song.
Could be.
I think this might be it for him.
I just think the opportunity for him not to show up in the Doctor Strange movie is almost too hard for Marvel to pass up.
Gotcha.
With just all the steam they've been picking up with Loki. Like, they did it with Wanda where she got built up and like, oh, she's actually a really good character. Boom. Right. And she gets thrown in there. Yep. And now we have because they said that out of the 3 series, this is the one that's going to impact the MCU the most.
I get that.
So, I don't know. But I think Tom Hiddleston is going to be a lot like Chris Hemsworth. I think he'll play Loki.
You think he'll hang on to that character for a while?
I think they'll play Loki. I think he'd play Loki till the day he died.
Sure.
Because that's how Chris Hemsworth is too. He's like, as long as they keep having me back, I'm going to keep playing Thor.
Right. Yeah. No, I like this. I like talking about what we think the future is going to hold with the show. I could see them. I've heard it's been a lot of fun to just listen to other podcasts and hear other folks' perspectives on what they think is going to come in the future. And the consensus has, in general, been, they're not going to show Kang. Like, they haven't revealed a big, significant adversary in the previous 2 shows.
Correct.
Which is fair. But I think that is exactly why they really could in this show. Because this is the last show before we transition into the films of Phase 4.
Which is the Black Widow movie will be first. And I don't honestly think that's going to have any real impact on the story.
The timing is just awkward for Black Widow, the movie's sake. But when I think, I guess, of Phase 4, I'm thinking Quantumania, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, Eternals, and then, of course, the Spider-Man
Yeah, because
Far From Home?
Yep.
No.
Or No Way Home.
Excuse me. Thank you. No Way Home.
So
Wrong home.
yeah, because on top of that, you have Ant-Man and the Wasp, who's going to be dealing with the time.
Yep.
Which I'm sure Ant-Man's thrilled about doing again. You're going to have...
Time Heist, the sequel.
You're going to have Strange dealing with the multiverse.
Uh-huh.
And then you're going to have... Well, who knows what... Spider-Man's going to be dealing with a lot of shit, too. I don't even know. I think the poor guys can get thrown through the ringer in this one.
Yep. Yeah. So I won't be surprised if they reveal Kang, because there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Really? Like, you don't have to reserve him for a movie. And frankly, I think if Marvel wants to continue to
do shows
and legitimize this process as being more than just hey, we're throwing the fans a bone, here's a nice little character study, guys, I think you gotta pull out the big guns, quite frankly. And Kang is a formidable adversary, at least based on his comics history. And the movies are free to do what they want, but I won't be surprised. I don't know. I don't have a strong inkling one way or the other, but I won't be surprised if Kang shows up. I'm fascinated to see what happens with the TVA workers like Mobius once they find out, because they're gonna find out probably in episode 4. Loki's just gonna go, hey dudes, you're all variants. That's a mind melter.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated to see, okay, how has that been a thing? Like, who is the marionette pulling the strings?
Well, that's my point.
Behind
we
here?
have no idea who the big bad is.
Miss Minutes? Okay, but it's not just an
but you know
AI.
that's
It's
got
not
to be
just
more than Miss Minutes.
Correct. It's just a facade for whoever's. So anyway, there's a lot to be revealed in that respect, and I'm very excited for that. Owen Wilson's been my favorite part of the show. He's been incredible.
Yeah.
He's so great.
For sure.
He is so great. Not duped by Loki in the least, until Loki gets away in the second episode. Tough look for my guy Owen Mobius there. But for all the theories that are out there of, hey, what if Mobius is a Loki variant, is one that I've heard, for example.
Oh, I don't think that's... No.
I think there's a lot of folks going too far down the respective rabbit holes of, I think it's going to turn out to be this, and something gets forgotten, right? Or even with Sylvie, like maybe she's Enchantress. She's not going to be Enchantress.
I think it's too late now.
Not in the same way that the comics character is Enchantress,
and
right? She's going to be the female version of Loki. That's legitimately who she is. And there's people that are like picking apart the dialogue, like, don't call me Loki. Oh, that means she's not Loki. Like, she is. Like, she's legitimately a Loki variant.
We just haven't found out why she refuses to go by that name.
She could take on the mantle of Enchantress, and she could start calling herself Enchantress, and then she's therefore the MCU Enchantress. But I think what so many people continue to forget is that the movies and the TV shows haven't gone according to the comics.
Nope.
A lot. Like, it's the basic foundation of, okay, here's what we have to start with, but then where they go from there's all kinds of freedom.
The Mandarin is a prime example. I'm still not happy about that.
Not a good, maybe not the
I'm still
best.
not happy about that.
No, but like Captain America and Bucky Barnes.
Yep.
Okay, Bucky was legitimately a teenager in the comics. And the movies right off the bat say, no, you're actually a peer. You're the same age as Steve Rogers, your childhood friends. None of that was from the comics. No. But that added such a great layer to those characters in the movies. Steve and Bucky are childhood friends. That makes Steve's desire to try and redeem Bucky from the mind-wiping Winter Soldier crap that he had to deal with that much more valid, because it's not just your teenager buddy from the war, this is the guy you've grown up with.
Yep.
So anyhow, I'm all for the MCU continuing to create their own versions of these characters and not become beholden to the comics. So I think there's a temptation to go crazy with the theories, and I don't think it's particularly helpful, because I think the show is creating a great story for us to enjoy. We don't need to go nuts on, oh man, is Sylvie, is she the Enchantress? Is she really a Loki? Is Mobius someone else? Like, I don't think they're being quite that coy with it.
I honestly would rather they just have Enchantress be her own separate character and they have Thor involved somehow in that sense.
Sure.
Or save her for the Sif series, because wasn't Sif talked about possibly? Maybe not. I know she's coming back for Thor 4. Maybe I'm
Sif
crazy.
is?
Yes.
Okay.
She has been confirmed for Thor 4.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Yep.
But I think people need to realize too that the movies aren't going to be page by page.
Absolutely not.
And
nor should they be. That'd be so boring.
Well, you have to. You almost have to treat it as its own universe. Like
Correct.
It's an alternate universe from
Yep.
the comics.
Yep.
And as far as I'm concerned, anything in the comics mainline that's a canon. But
Right.
after that, like movies, TV shows, unless it's like, hey, for example, DC does all their animated movies, and even sometimes those don't follow through, but they do have some where it's like, okay, this is going to be a direct comic
This is almost
adaptation.
page for page.
Yeah,
adaptation.
and that's honestly,
Yep.
I love that if they do
Yep.
that but you know what to expect,
Yep.
and that's the whole reason you watch it anyways, is because you enjoy the story and you want
Right.
to see it
Right.
visually in front of you and see how they do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was part of what was so appealing about the Marvel's Ultimates comics run, is that it took pretty well established characters, like take your Avengers cast, right? Ant-Man, Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, and it went pretty different, maybe not to the extreme, but pretty strong, like different directions with a number of those characters, and it worked. Like, it was worthwhile. It was good storytelling, and frankly, it was kind of freeing to read a story where you know less of what to expect with that character.
And they even like changed a lot of the person, because they keep the Hulk gray in that.
Yep.
I know that.
Yep.
And I mean that's why you have Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury now, is
That's
because
right.
of the Ultimates, because they're like,
That's right.
you know what, we love Samuel L. Jackson so much, so we're gonna make him look like Nick Fury is gonna look like him.
I forgot that.
And it worked out great.
Yep.
Because his personality is exactly what you would want for a Nick Fury anyways.
Yep.
But yeah, because I'm trying to think what else. Because isn't Captain America like more soldier-esque than actual, like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. The foundational realities of who those characters are still there. Like, Thor still has a hammer. But the thing is, nobody at the beginning of the Ultimates comics knows if he is really who he says he is. Like, as the Norse god of thunder. He's just, like, when the Ultimate series starts, Thor's just hanging out, essentially living a hippie life, wielding this massive hammer, but he's not showing off any of his powers. And so people don't take him seriously. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. So point is, I love it when comics say, I think there's room for both. There's room for that page-to-page adaptation. That's good. That's worthwhile. Because if it's good in the comics, listen, it's going to be good on the screen. But I think there's also a lot of room and a lot more potential in my mind for enjoyment when you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know all of these character beats, when you have these reinventions, these reimaginings. Because that's part of what makes comics great, is you have these characters that exist over the span of decades, but you have individual authors come in and put their own twist on that character. And that's what we're seeing with the TV shows, with the movies, is these directors, these screenwriters, these show creators, they're putting their own twist on these characters. And so I think rather than trying to hold or box these writers in to be like, no, this character has to be this way.
Yeah.
Why? Like, if you want that, go read that comic.
Yep,
it's there already for you. But let's see this version from this individual, because frankly, so far it's been spectacular.
I feel like
it's been awesome.
I feel like as long as you stick with the core of the character, it works. I mean, obviously, I don't want to see Peter Parker be Russian and works for the mob over there. Like, I don't want to see that, obviously. But, like, having that Tobey Maguire Peter Parker that I've talked about before that I love so much, that's why he was so well loved, because his Peter Parker was amazing.
Right.
But, and people, like, you gotta remember, too, alternate timeline books are, like, some of the most successful.
There's a reason those are so popular.
Superman Red Son, Injustice, Age of Apocalypse, just to name a few. I mean,
Kingdom Comes, an old one. We talked about that in the first
absolutely.
episode. I mean, there's all kinds of alternate universe stories that
Those
have
are
that
so
appeal
much
for
fun
that reason.
because
Absolutely.
it's basically giving the writer the toy box to be like, okay, hey, do what you want. Let's
Right.
see where it goes. It's not going to matter in the main timeline, so no one's going to care what you do.
And that is such a big reason why Marvel has struck gold over the last 10 years with these movies, is that the expectations for these characters, and we won't go too far down this path because we've hit it before, but this is just another reminder. A lot of these characters were not a big deal before these movies.
Correct.
Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk was probably the most well known out of that whole Avengers ensemble. But otherwise, most fans, and I'll include myself in this, like, I didn't read Iron Man comics before seeing the Avengers movie. I didn't read Captain America comics before seeing the Avengers movie. And so I went into those movies pretty fresh, pretty willing to go, all right, show me what you got. Let's see if it's worthwhile. And I think that's a really common theme, is that most of us went into those movies not having a whole lot of pre-existing notions for, hey, this is what that character should be.
Yep.
And so I think from a fan's perspective, we have to kind of ask ourselves and challenge ourselves of, do I really want these screenwriters to give me exactly what I expect I should be getting? Or when I see a title like Secret War, should I be going, ooh, that comic's great? Well, let's see what they do with it. It's probably going to be different.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of good inherent mystery there, that there's a risk now that expectations have been set, because we've been with these characters for so long, that could get lost. That's a challenge for Marvel, though.
And I've said it before too, and I'll say it again just for the sake of saying it again. I think Doctor Strange is going to open up the door. I think you're going to see a lot like. I think it's going to give them an opportunity to be like, you know what, DC established that they have a multiverse, and that way they can just do a solo movie and be like, okay, this is where you're at, with Robert Pattinson's
Old Bob
Batman,
Pattinson.
and it won't matter.
Yep.
And as long as people accept, like, okay, this is a different actor or actress that's taking on this role, and understanding, like, okay, this is going to be a different take.
Yep.
Because Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck are very different with their portrayals of Batman, but they are different and probably good and bad in their own ways.
Sure.
Probably. I don't know.
I'll tell you what.
Example.
I'll be really fascinated with Marvel. So it feels like they're intentionally expanding and kind of billowing out. I wonder if they're not going to have this kind of season or this period of 2 or 3 years of opening up the multiverse, the quantum realm, all these things, and if they don't winnow that down. Like if they don't try and bring it back under some semblance of control. Because listen, I know they've already accomplished what's been, previously unprecedented.
Yep.
To be able to create over 20 movies that interweave well with one another. Not perfectly, but really well. I just wonder, the bigger that it gets, and now we're adding TV shows that are supposed to connect together. I wonder if it's not going to get too big to sustain.
See, and
I don't know.
I think the TV shows are more of an opportunity to flesh out lesser known characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine if they would have had Disney Plus like 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You already know War Machine would have probably had a Disney Plus show showing him through the Air Force.
Yep.
And for example, and then that's why Moon Knight's getting a Disney Plus. He's more of an obscure character. I wouldn't be surprised. They already did a Ghost Rider movie, I guess, so that one's probably up in the air. But I'm just trying to think of like. It just gives them an opportunity.
They're doing a Hawkeye show now, but
exactly.
Black Widow. I mean, Black Widow and Hawkeye would both be great Disney Plus show candidates.
I think Black Widow would have done better as a Disney Plus series over a movie, but in the pure fact of you can really flesh her character out, you can explore
a lot of unknown history that you could get into.
I don't know shit about Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's a Russian spy.
Yeah, that's what we got.
Like before the movies, I did not care. To be frank, I still don't care that much. Like, I like Scarlett Johansson and I like her Black Widow, but like, Black Widow was never a character I latched onto.
That character.
And the fact that they like made her, Although I was always that one guy who's like, I wish Ant-Man and the Wasp was in the first Avengers movie over Hawkeye and Black Widow.
Yeah.
And I like Hawkeye, but...
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I don't know.
So, I don't know. I'm curious as to whether or not that's going to be an intentional change. It might just need to happen, whether it's in the plans or not. Because you open things up and you're going to hit a point where... And I think you were touching on this. You probably can't connect everything. You're going to have to start having these respective islands of, listen, this is its own thing. No, this does not connect the DC model, right? Of this show or this movie, this is in its own area. Don't worry about how it connects.
Well, because there's going to be some actors and actresses who aren't going to be in love with their roles. And they're going to be like, we haven't seen it yet, really? Mm-hmm. I mean, the Red Skull, that wasn't a huge deal, though. But, like... One of these days, we're gonna get somebody who's on that like Captain America level, and they're like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Kill me.
Here's what I know, and here's kind of what I come back to is that 10-year Marvel run that started in 2008 with Iron Man and wrapped up early 2019 with Endgame. I'm always going to have that. I don't know what the next few years. I'm excited for it, but I'm also really nervous that it's going to get too big, too bloated, and not be as healthy, right? So if that happens, here's the deal. Marvel crafted one hell of a first decade that is really well self-contained, and I will happily go back to those movies, watch them all from start to finish, and enjoy that story. A lot. So I'm not super anxious, not super worried, but I'm a little concerned with where we're going here. It's like, oh boy, the boldness is probably good, but man, I wonder if it's really going to be sustainable in the long run or not, with as big as they seem to be trying to get.
Well, and you think about it too, and there's like we talked about earlier. The TVA had a reason for keeping the timeline essential, and I think we're gonna find out more and more of why they kept the timeline the way they kept it. I have a feeling, but they're gonna blow it up, and maybe that's Kang's whole thing. Is he's like, you know what, we need to make it one again.
Yep.
And maybe he does succeed in that, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that Sylvie's motivation to kind of bring it back a little more directly to the show, and then we'll move on. I'm sure her motivation is going to be, as she referenced, she's been pursued by the TVA her whole life. So she's no fan of the TVA. So I don't think she's obviously not trying to take it over. I genuinely think she's just trying to blow it up.
Yeah, she probably hates it.
Tear it down to the ground, and who cares what happens next. My guess is we'll see some footage, some scenes of her past to give us a little bit more of an idea of the
why
foundations
she hates them so
the
much.
Foundations of her motivation,
and how the TVA had no idea that it was her killing people in the first two. That's another thing. Like, you didn't know, but yet she's hated you all her life.
Yeah, I think
that's weird.
I think where the conflict is going to come in for our Loki, right, that we're most familiar with, is similar to what they set up in the first episode when they kind of ended it with, well, Loki, it's another variant that's killing. Another variant of you that's killing all of our Minutemen. That immediately to me signaled, okay, the conflict is our Loki wanting to save his own butt, right? Trying to find a way to not be dead, but also having to go up against himself. And I think that conflict is still going to I think that's going to hold true, where he's going to have this challenge of, do I work with this variant self? Because if I do, I could save myself. But if I don't, oh boy, everything is blown up and I don't have an existence worth living anyway. So, fascinating to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. Yeah. So that's good. That's some good Loki talk. What about Shang-Chi? What about this guy?
My dude right here. Shout out to Ben Kruger for the hookup. This is from him. This is my goodbye gift from when we stopped working together.
Really?
Yeah. So
I would just like to say, Ben, I'm still waiting for my goodbye gift. I see this is what you gave Riley. So here's the bar.
To be fair, I got him a Christmas gift, so it evened out.
You're off the hook.
But, Shang-Chi. Sorry, I got distracted by my sweet action figure that I want more of.
Trailer dropped earlier this week, and it looks like Shang-Chi's got some daddy issues.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing we should just get out of the way now and talk about is the fact that A-Bomb and Wong are fighting.
Right.
Why? How?
I don't know.
They're in an arena fighting for sport. What's Abomination been doing for the past 10 years?
It's not unexpected to see Abomination fighting for sport.
By the way, they gave him the ears. It looks sick. Because he doesn't have the ears in the movie, first movie. Mm-hmm. He had the sick ears. And it was awesome. Like this looks like a more comic accurate look. Which, by the way, on another note, Marvel has been killing the comic accurate looks. Mm-hmm. Been killing it. Mm-hmm. But
good no.
But I'm trying to think of
Falcon's outfit.
Yes,
Scarlet Witch's outfit.
Scarlet Witch.
2 for 2. Those are the two most noteworthy.
I heard Doctor Strange is getting a comic accurate one.
Okay.
Okay. We'll see. If Spider-Man's probably going to get a new suit. He always gets a new suit. But I'm trying to think.
What is Wong doing fighting for sport?
That's what I'm trying to think.
Abomination makes sense. Yep, you're a big ugly galoot. You're just there to smash people. But Wong?
So this is going to have to tie into Doctor Strange too, don't you think?
Wong was the librarian.
Don't you think that's got to tie into Doctor Strange?
I don't know what it means. I don't know where that is supposed to.
Because to me, why do you bring him in if it doesn't?
I don't know. It's such a random insert. It's the definition of someone throwing a water balloon filled with crap in a group of people. It's like, see ya. It's like, what are we doing here? You didn't give me anything worthwhile. I'm genuinely upset about it. I don't get it. What the flip was that?
Well, because
you want to show us Abomination's ears? That's fine.
That is sick.
That's fine.
Sick.
But
Thank you.
I don't get this. I don't understand. Don't know if I'm on board. You about to draw his ears?
No, I'm gonna. That's the name of the episode. Anyways,
That's great. Feel that inspiration. Let it flow.
Yeah.
So I don't get that. I'm not gonna get too hung up on it, but I have no idea where that indicates, what that indicates as far as where in the time frame or timeline are we? Is this before Endgame, after Endgame? This is just a character we haven't had anything to do with, which is great. I'm so excited. Kung Fu and Marvel, great. Yes.
And it's mystical. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little disappointed because it looks like the 10 rings are gonna be not like the comics.
The 10 bracelets.
The 10 bracelets are not gonna be like the comics because watching them move and stuff, it looked like there's way more than one set. Also.
Fair. Yeah.
But
the 10 forearm.
And it sounded like something inherited, so I can't figure out if it's science, if it's magic, or if it's a little bit of both. Because to me, it just looked like robotics. Mm-hmm. So I'm confused. So if maybe that's why he's there, because it's a little bit of magic. But I don't, because they've shown, because they showed the dragon.
Yep.
And that.
Right.
So they're showing that there is a mystical side to this movie.
And it's going to err on the mystical, magical side way more than the
science. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's just confusing because it's
Do you think part of this is they're trying to restore the character of the Mandarin?
Well,
his dad's going to be the Mandarin.
Well, to me it sounded like he's not.
Yeah,
I would honestly,
it's him.
As long as the Mandarin's in it. If his dad's not the Mandarin and he's a lackey for the Mandarin, I'm cool with that too. Because you know what, you can throw the Mandarin in the second movie and it works for me.
That's fair.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know what to,
I liked the first trailer more than I liked the second trailer.
That second trailer just kind of ruined the mystique of the first one in the sense of okay, well, here's what you can get excited for, yada yada, and then the second one's okay, well, we got this, and this. You have no idea why, but here you go.
It just didn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It didn't make sense, and so many of the Marvel trailers that have come out from Marvel movies, Marvel trailers, kind of a dead giveaway. Every single one of them has had worthiness where it's you bet, okay, that's something new, that's worthwhile, that added this layer to the marketing. I'm intrigued further. This didn't really intrigue me. I was intrigued by the first trailer. It's Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Love that. in a Marvel setting. Okay, love that. And this was just, it just didn't feel very compelling. It was very clearly them trying to tell us, here's what the story is. Kid grows up,
Doesn't like his dad.
doesn't like dad, moves away. Dad finds him, tries to bring him back. They fight.
Daddy.
And here's Abomination and Wong.
Pretty much.
It's like, what? What did I... Why?
And again, I am excited because that fight
Why?
looks like it's going to be good.
Right.
But
it's just,
but
why?
then you also have to ask, is there going to be other fights of characters in that ring? Where is that? Like, what is... It pretty much does bring you back. What's going on there?
Yeah.
Where are
What
they?
is
Where are
happening?
they? Why are they fighting?
Probably the worst part about it, and I would love to hear a countering opinion to this of someone who is watching that trailer and going, I am now more interested. It didn't make me more interested in that movie. It didn't make me more eager to see it.
No, just ask me. I just ask more questions now.
It didn't do its job. Like, a whole point of a trailer is to create interest, intrigue without giving too much away. And I felt like it showed a lot of what the story is going to be without it being very compelling. And it doesn't need to show us. We're not going to go see that movie because we're like, let's see some good father-son conflict here. Let's go. It's not why we're going to see that.
Well, we did lose Tony, so we have to have somebody with daddy issues.
I guess. It's like, we're going to go see it for the kung fu.
Yep.
That's what we're there for. And the mysticism, yeah, lean into that if you want to.
I'm all for that. I am all for that one.
I would love to hear people that have, we talked just not that long ago in this podcast of, expectations, and it's okay when the movies do something different. Here's an example. The 10 bracelets. Like, those aren't rings.
No,
Those are not rings.
That does piss me off.
I don't care. Like, I don't have any emotional attachment
I do.
to what the 10 rings are. Okay, see? There you go. But this is one of those cases where it's like, well, we really went far off the beaten path here, didn't we? And these are because my understanding of the original 10 rings in the comics is that the Mandarin literally wore 10 rings imbued with different power sets on his fingers.
Which, have we gone over that? What each power thing is?
No, we've not.
It's insane.
I'm sure
this
it is.
Power set is.
I'm sure it just turns him into an Eternal, right?
Pretty much
the
a
Eternal.
god,
We're reading
yeah.
we're reading through the power sets of the Eternal, and it's like, Jesus Christ, that's what we got here.
But
so, quite a departure there. I have a hard time imagining most people, whether it's myself as the more casual observer when it comes to Shang-Chi and anything related to the 10 rings in particular, or someone who, like you, is going, what are you doing with my rings, bro? What is this? These are not my 10 rings. Tell me what makes you mad about it.
When I was a kid, you'd watch a few episodes of the 90s Iron Man cartoon.
Okay.
Because for some reason it would be on. And he was awesome in that, and that's MODOK was in that too. So those two are the big two. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Mandarin was just built up to be this badass, and he had 10 rings. And then, I feel like there was another... Oh, yeah, and I grew up playing Ultimate Alliance.
Okay.
And he's one of the villains in that, which, by the way, one of the best video games ever for Marvel.
There you go.
Video
Good
games.
plug.
The first Ultimate Alliance is
plug.
fantastic. They take you everywhere throughout the Marvel Universe. If there's a character you're interested in, they probably will cover it, and you'll probably fight them, or they'll probably fight with you. The only beef is you don't get to play as the Hulk, which was just blasphemous. But,
It's great.
It is. It's blasphemy.
That's great use of blasphemous.
But, I'm just writing something down. Anyways.
No notes!
Anyways, but, so seeing him in that game, he was badass too.
Right.
But it's just, and then to go to Iron Man 3, and then to just have them butcher the character entirely. And then,
on purpose.
Because they realized that they pissed so many people off about it. They pissed so many people off about it, they're like, they released that little trailer tidbit thing where they're like, oh, the real one's still out there.
Right.
And then they botched the 10 rings. You botched the 10 rings after you already botched the Mandarin. It irritates the shit out of me.
Right.
So what I'm hoping is that those aren't the actual 10 rings, and they're just the weapons that the terrorist organization of the 10 rings use.
Sure.
To stick with the name.
Sure.
fine by me.
Sure.
The 10 bands, whatever. But you keep the Mandarin, you make him a badass, you make him kill people, and you give him the 10 freaking rings.
You know,
Rant over.
I love that rant. That was a great rant. Well done on your part. I think, as I reflect after very recently, again, I'm just drawing on our 10-minute ago history, expounding on how much I enjoyed that first 10 years of Marvel. One of the common gripes, and I think there's validity to it, is that the adversaries faced by a lot of the heroes in a lot of those movies weren't that tough, right? Thanos being a phenomenal exception to that rule. And so I think where there is great opportunity, for Marvel is, let's crank out some quality bad guys and not just kill them off. Like, let's make, as you're saying, the Mandarin a fantastic bad guy. We know we're going to get Kang. Doctor Doom, anybody?
Doom,
right?
Doom. You have to pick you have to do a very... I'm just going to talk the fight here. You have to do a very good job with your casting choice on Doctor Doom, because if he's not a character or a villain that's going to be built up to the level of Thanos, you're botching it. Because guess what? The final villain in Ultimate Alliance, Doctor Doom. He gets the Cosmic Cube, becomes a god.
Right.
Okay? Angry. Anyways, my point is...
You've really hit a nerve.
Where was I going with this? Oh, we're talking about good villains and bad villains.
Absolutely.
Are you saying that Thanos might be like the only really good villain?
No, not the only one. He's easily the best.
But,
and I think it could let me rephrase it. I think it should be a point of emphasis for Marvel in these subsequent phases to be like, hey, we've got some awesome villains. Let's give them some due diligence. Let's give them some time. Like, in other words, let's not just introduce and then kill them.
I agree.
In the first movie that we're seeing them in. So let's get a legit Mandarin. Let's get a legit Doctor Doom at some point. Let's get a Kang. I'm saying I'd be very comfortable with multiple Thanos-level adversaries in play at one time.
And don't make him a storm cloud, for the love of Christ.
Oof.
I'm trying to think of because there have been some good villains, but if you're thinking about after Endgame, the villains we've had so far, Agatha Harkness, meh, okay, cool, but we don't really get enough info about her.
She's fine.
She's okay,
yep.
But it's okay, why is she down the path of darkness in the first place? I understand why she wants Wanda, because she wants the powers, but
fair.
To do what with? What are you gonna do? For me, there wasn't enough drive for her character, so I was okay, whatever.
Yep.
For me, it was more about Wanda dealing with her trauma, which is fine again, but didn't care about the villain. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you had.
It's very similar.
A
lot of internal conflict, right? No single bad guy entity.
Exactly. It was all about
controlling things in the background. It was a lot of...
It's Sam accepting what he has to do.
Yep. Both Sam and Bucky developing and maturing as characters. Great show, but there wasn't a bad guy that you're looking at going, oh, they're fighting this dude the whole time. Conflict with John Walker.
Zemo was cool.
Zemo was great, but he was on their side.
Yep. And
He's consistently working with them.
The whole fight with U.S. Agent is fantastic.
Yep.
When they take back the shield.
Yep.
But Flag Smasher, okay, I don't care. She was okay. It was more reflecting on what Sam wants to do and why he was chosen, pretty much.
Yep.
And then, Batroc the Leaper was just there.
Didn't he die? Didn't he finally die?
Yeah. Sharon Carter shot him in the face. And another thing, we're oh, Sharon Carter's going to be a bad guy now. Why? Why? They redeemed her. And then at the end, they're I guess all this cool stuff I'm going to get. Why? So that's why I'm hoping in Loki, the TVA, whoever the big bad is, you have an opportunity to set them up. Mm-hmm. And if you're not going to kill them, at least set them up to a point where they can be delved in a later time.
Yeah.
Set them up oh shit, they are here, they are present.
Yep. We need some adversaries that last a while.
Like, to be honest, I'm not even super excited about seeing Taskmaster on screen. There hasn't been enough build-up for him.
Well, and it's hard to imagine that he's going to be anything other than a one-off in the Black Widow.
Oh, for sure. Which is ridiculous, because he'd be so good with, like, mercenaries and stuff.
Yeah. I think the original Avengers cast, it leaned really hard into the internal conflict with the team, right? Like, they came together in the first Avengers movie in spite of the internal conflict. Age of Ultron was all about Tony and Bruce messing up, creating an AI that almost destroyed the world.
Because they freaked out and overdid it.
Yep, and
from
then
the first movie.
Civil War, team splits up. Infinity War and Endgame, they find a way to come back together and team up. But it was a lot of internal conflict that drove what was compelling about those movies and, frankly, what they were fighting against. They were almost fighting against themselves as often as they were bad guys.
Yeah.
And so, fine. Like
Loki.
that's part of what those stories have been. But, again, you have such a phenomenal cast of villains at your disposal. I mean, we have spent a lot of time, you and I in particular, about talking about the different heroes that we haven't seen yet, the protagonists. How about some of the antagonists that have not been unleashed yet?
Oh, there's
a lot. So show them and don't be afraid of that, because we can hang on to them for such a longer time. They don't have to be these one-offs like Obadiah Stane. That's okay. That's a good one-off bad guy. Like, he was great in Iron Man, great for what he was. We don't need to see him hang around. But if that's all you're getting is those one-offs, okay, that's hard to get too excited about.
Obadiah Stane, okay with being gone.
Yep.
Whiplash would have been cool if he stuck around and they would have actually gave him a comic accurate suit. But at the end,
he was just never formidable enough.
Who cares?
They took care of him way too easily.
Yep. The third Iron Man villain, I don't even talk about.
What, you mean the Mandarin?
No, I don't want to talk about that either. But the one behind it,
right?
That's just. I mean, I will say Captain America has really good villains. The first, actually, all he got the good villain treatment, but
his villains were hardly. Like, Zemo wasn't known as the
main antagonist,
right,
correct?
Right.
Yes.
The Avengers didn't know, hey, we're fighting against Zemo.
He was always behind the scenes.
It was a lot of Bucky, just so.
Oh my God, we have to save Bucky! Oh, heaven forbid, my baby.
Exactly. So there's good opportunity there, and I'm hopeful that they'll lean into that.
So. I have to ask you this then.
Hit me.
Besides, let's just get rid of the big major ones we want to see in, like, Doctor Doom and Galactus, and the ones that we know are coming.
Yeah.
What villain do you want to see on the screen?
I want to see a Norman Osborn Green Goblin that's just friggin' bad. That is nasty. That is in a position of power.
That sticks around for a while.
Correct. That sticks around.
Don't kill him,
that
please.
Is wreaking havoc left and right and just can't be touched. Like, he's in that position of power and influence. Publicly, he has the notoriety, but privately, he's the freaking Green Goblin, dashing about, doing all kinds of misdeeds. I'd be all about that. I would love a Green Goblin that hung around for a while.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah. So not a cosmic entity, right? Pretty local dude, but can do some damage.
That's another character that, yes, he is one of the best villains they have. He should stick around. And just, I mean, he does dink around with more than just Spidey.
Yeah.
I mean, Dark Avengers alone. I'm trying to think of villain-wise who I want to see. Because there's...
This gets into the X-Men, so this is cheating a little bit, but I want to see Magneto. Like, what a fantastic bad guy.
Yeah, for me...
What a fantastic bad guy.
For me, we've gotten a good Magneto.
We have.
For me, it's more
that's why I want more.
For me, it's more frustrating in that regard with Apocalypse. I wish Apocalypse was better. I like seeing him. It would be way better to see him as like a... Instead of just wanting the best mutants and mutants being the best, like just you see him not be like, okay, I just want the most powerful people in existence.
Yep.
The strong will survive. That's what I want to see. and just murder a bunch of people. That's honestly, that's all I want from my villains.
Mm-hmm.
Be ruthless. Kill a bunch of people and then try to justify it.
Kingpin, Netflix, Daredevil. He was phenomenal.
And I hope they bring Vincent D'Onofrio back for that. That's one I hope stays, and I think he will. Yep. But I'm trying to think of... There's definitely a villain I'm not thinking about. I would love Ultron to be redeemed, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm looking at my...
Killmonger was a really good villain.
Killmonger was good.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of... I'm looking at my board and thinking if I can get any ideas off of it.
Nice. Right. We're going to get Gore the God Butcher.
That would be sick.
I'm excited for that. That's really great.
I mean, I do want to see the Sinister Six.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a very potential that does show up, but it would be amazing. I want that to happen though when Tom Holland's Spider-Man's has a bit more experience.
Sure.
And they are actually his own villains and not Tony Stark's villains. That'd be very helpful. I know I'm missing somebody. That's the main thing. I would like to see Venom over there, but that won't happen probably for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. So, Shang-Chi, we'll see. I'm still going to go see it. I wish the second trailer would have had, frankly, just been more worth my time to watch it.
Just shown, if they would have just kept it, forget about the father-son stuff in that trailer. That could have been saved for the movie, but just
we don't care.
Showing clips of him interacting with the dragon, maybe interacting with more mystical creatures, and then going into maybe showing what his life's like in San Fran, and then you can throw the A-bomb and the Wong trailer in or clip in, but at least set it up better.
Let us know what the flip is.
You could have been
guys.
You could honestly, the trailer
poop-filled balloon.
The trailer
could have. It was just a poop-filled balloon.
The trailer could have ended, and they could have been in this corner, the A-bomb, and then he's just been in there for years, and he's their champion, and then they're somehow they capture Wong, and they're okay, you get to fight him, and then they're
bud.
And the Sorcerer Supreme's butler, trying to do his best to not get squeezed to death. Wong, and then they could have, and that as soon as he gets hit, fade out. But
missed opportunity.
This is why I should just be in charge.
Yeah,
I should just be in charge.
See, we're bringing it full circle all the way back to the
I
Loki
should be
question of if Riley were in charge, this would not have happened.
Yeah.
Damn it, Kevin.
Irritates the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Kevin will be fine. Kevin figures it out, but
needs to get tighter controlling his people.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's all I got, man. What about you? Anything else you wanted to hit on with all Shang-Chi and
I'm trying to think.
The great Loki?
Loki, I'm good.
Yeah.
But Shang-Chi, I do hope it would be cool because they'll probably keep him around for a while, I would assume. But it would be sick to see in a future Spider-Man movie him lose the spider sense.
Ooh.
Like in this next couple of movies, they build up that he's just starting to really rely on it. Yep. And then that other one, they're some dude's figuring out a way around his spider sense and for it to not to trigger, and then he finds out he loses it, and then boom, spider foo. That would be sick. Nice. Because that is a thing.
Nice.
That is a thing. He learns his own. Shang-Chi invents a martial art specifically for Spider-Man to fight people when his spider sense goes kapooey.
Love it. I'm in.
I think it would be
I'm in.
Perfect.
Good team up. Unexpected.
Well, because they're throwing him in with Doctor Strange this time. Why? How? What? And speaking of which, the audacity that we do not have a freaking trailer for that movie yet is insane to me. Do they realize it comes out in Christmas?
They're waiting until Loki's done.
They've said that?
I'm sure they are. They have to be. They're going to wait for these TV shows to wrap up. So we've got another few weeks. We've got till July. And then they'll drop that trailer.
And I will lose my shit probably when that drops.
As you should.
Also lose my shit. I've said it before, but if Fin Fang Foom comes into Shang-Chi, I will lose my shit again.
He'll be there.
That would be a proper Shang-Chi villain as well.
That's great.
Mandarin, Fin Fang Foom. It would be better if Fin Fang Foom was in the second, Mandarin in the third, and then Mandarin was controlling Fin Fang Foom. That would be perfect. But
Love it.
did we also talk about the Craven casting? I feel like we did.
Remind me.
Aaron
we
Taylor
touched on it.
Johnson.
Yes.
We did talk about that. I think we did. I couldn't remember. I want to make sure we touched all our bases with that.
Silver.
Yeah. He's
As
going to be
Kraven.
Craven in the Sony movie. Did we talk about that?
Yes. It's dumb.
And then, I'm trying to think if there's any other casting news. I'm pretty sure they found their Namor for the Black Panther 2 movie.
Oh boy.
And I have no idea who it is. I think some people were a little disappointed.
Oh boy.
Let me look that up. Namor casting. Rumors is what it's... Oh, no, right there. So it's Tanakh Huerta.
Who?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because this is... Let's see if there's a better picture. That's him right there. That's Namor. I knew he got casted. Or rumored.
Okay.
They start filming that movie soon. I'll be interested
Okay.
to see what they do. You don't seem happy with that.
I just don't even know. The fudge are they
As
doing?
long as they make Namor kind of like Loki in the sense that you just don't know where he's gonna go, that's fine with me.
Sony making a Kraven the Hunter movie?
Why are they making a Morbius movie? Another good question.
Sorry, Vision. Knocked me out over here in my rage. Apologies. Stand strong. They need to stop. They need to stop or be stopped.
They need to be stopped.
Gosh, dang it. God bless it.
Just for those movies, it's like, just save it for Spider-Man. The fact that we're getting Kraven before he clashes with Spidey is an atrocity. It's an atrocity.
It's friggin' stupid.
He should be in his own... If they did Kraven The Last Stand, and they turned that into a movie, millions of dollars. Millions. I feel like I've been very angry this episode.
You have been. There's been a lot of rage coming out. It's been very therapeutic for you. It's not bad. It's good. It's good. Yeah. Don't give me a Kraven movie. Pull the plug on that shit right now. Don't need it. Don't need it.
Yeah.
Just, no.
I did have the ring move set real quick for you too, if you wanted to hear about that. Just to see if we actually get a comic accurate Mandarin. I know I've been all over the place. I've been all over the place, and I apologize, but it's been on my mind. So, these are 10 rings that this guy gets. Okay, this is why he's so cool. Okay, Matter Rearranger Ring. Manipulate the atomic and molecular structures of matter.
You're just going to end up being Jesus powers. That's what it's going to be.
Impact Beam Ring. Allows the Mandarin to generate and project various beams of concussive force. So Cyclops.
Cyclops.
That's how
Iron Man.
Yeah.
You could do better.
Vortex Beam, a.k.a. Spin. The ring causes the air to move about at high speed in vortex. The vortex can be used as an offensive weapons and levitate objects.
Yep.
Or he can fly.
Again, how do you lose if you have these? Like, you're doing something wrong.
The Disintegration Beam.
Come on now.
Allows the Mandarin to project a beam of energy capable of destroying the bonds between the atoms and molecules, causing inanimate objects to disintegrate.
Yep.
That one does have a recharge of 20 minutes, but still. Black Light Ring. A ring allows the Mandarin to create an area of darkness, presumably using dark force energy to do so. The White Light. This ring allows the Mandarin to generate...
There's a dark and a white? Come on now.
And it allows him to generate and manipulate various forms of electromagnetic energy. So, a gravity field, light burst, magnetic levitation, image projection. Flame Blast Ring allows...
Nolan Wilson. Wow.
Allows him to blast infrared to produce flame or ignite combustible materials. So he can light things on fire. Mento Intensifier Ring. Lame name, by the way. You couldn't come up with anything better than that.
Better.
This ring magnifies the Mandarin's psionic energies, allowing him to mentally manipulate the thoughts and actions of others. electro blast ring, which is just lightning, and an ice blast ring, which is just ice.
He could do without the ice ring.
And that none of that was shown.
9-ring guy.
And this is why I don't think
You don't think the bracelets are the 10 rings?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They can't be, right?
I hope not.
Because
I hope
did
not.
you see them move and use? They like
Yep.
they move as like one weapon.
Right. Okay.
I didn't see ice coming out of one of them, or fire, or lightning. Which,
Somebody
by the way,
being
just give him
mindful.
every frickin' element. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I'm sorry. I did not intend for it to get that intense.
It's great.
I feel like I had you guys all on a roller coaster ride.
Happy for you.
I think that's it. That's all I got.
Let's do it.
Okay. As always, subscribe, like, share.
Don't even like, just love.
Message me and tell me how much you love me.
There it is.
Or, of course, JP as well.
I'll take the praise.
You can love him more.
It's fine.
All
It's fine.
right.
Love it.
Godspeed.